The golden wheat fields of Verdana 7 stretched far and wide under the pale blue sky. This small human colony was home to only 200 people. They were farmers, doctors, and engineers who had left Earth to build a new life among the stars. It was harvest season, and the air smelled sweet with ripe grain. Yuna was 8 years old. She had dark hair tied in 2 braids and curious eyes that noticed everything. While the adults worked on the other side of the colony, she played in the outer fields with her best friend in the whole universe. His name was Toto, and he was a honey badger. Toto was not like the honey badgers from old Earth. Scientists had changed his genes so he could travel in space. He was a bit larger than normal, about the size of a small dog. His fur was black and white, and his claws were sharp as knives. But to Yuna, he was just her fluffy friend who liked to dig holes and steal snacks from the kitchen. Yuna threw a small ball, and Toto chased it through the wheat. He brought it back, dropping it at her feet with a proud look. She laughed and scratched behind his ears. He made a happy rumbling sound. Far above them, something dark moved across the sky. Commander Vrix stood on the bridge of his hunting vessel. He was tall and covered in green scales that shone like polished stone. His eyes were yellow with black slits, and his teeth were long and sharp. He was a Corveth, a member of the greatest predator species in the galaxy. The Corveth lived for the hunt. They traveled from world to world, looking for new prey. They had hunted thousands of species. Some they ate. Some they kept as trophies. All of them had learned to fear the Corveth. Then, his second-in-command walked up beside him. Thane was younger, his scales still bright. He looked at the scanner readings with interest. "Commander, the planet has a small settlement. The species is called human. We have no information about them in our database." Vrix smiled, showing all his teeth. "A species we have never hunted before. How exciting. What does the scan show?" "They are soft creatures. No claws, no scales, no natural weapons. They appear to be plant farmers." Thane sounded almost disappointed. "They will not provide much sport." "Perhaps not," Rick said, "but we must add them to our collection. Every species must learn their place beneath the Corveth. Prepare the hunters." The ship descended through the clouds. It landed in a field of wheat, far from the main buildings of the colony. The engines crushed the golden stalks flat. Steam rose from the hot metal. Yuna heard the noise. She stopped playing and looked up. Through the tall wheat, she saw something huge and dark. It was a ship, but not like any human ship she had ever seen. This one looked angry, with sharp edges and no windows. Toto stopped too. His small body went stiff. The fur on his back stood up, and he made a low sound deep in his throat. "Toto, what is that?" Yuna whispered. A door opened on the side of the ship. Figures stepped out. They were tall, much taller than her father. They walked on 2 legs, but looked like lizards. They carried weapons that glowed with strange light. Yuna felt her heart beat fast. She knew she should run, but her legs would not move. She was too scared. The creatures spread out into the field. They moved slowly, looking around with their yellow eyes. They were searching for something. They were searching for prey. Yuna grabbed Toto and ran. She ran as fast as her small legs could carry her. The wheat was tall, hiding her from view. She could hear the creatures behind her, their heavy feet crushing the stalks. She saw an old storage shed ahead. It was small and made of metal, used to keep farming tools. She ran inside and closed the door. The shed was dark and smelled like oil and rust. Yuna pressed herself against the wall, holding Toto tight against her chest. Toto was still growling. It was a quiet sound, but Yuna could feel it vibrating through his whole body. She had never heard him growl like this before. He sounded angry. He sounded dangerous. "Shh, Toto," she whispered. "Please be quiet." They will find us. But Toto would not be quiet. He knew something Yuna did not know. He knew that predators were near, and every cell in his small body was telling him to fight. Outside, Commander Vrix walked through the wheat. He could smell something. It was a warm, living smell. Prey was near. He followed the smell to the storage shed. He looked at the small building and laughed. The prey had trapped itself. How convenient. He grabbed the door and pulled it off with one hand. The metal screamed as it bent. Light flooded into the dark shed. Yuna screamed. She saw the monster standing in the doorway, so tall his head almost touched the top of the frame. His yellow eyes looked at her like she was a piece of meat. "What do we have here?" Rick said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "A little one. All alone." How sad. Thane appeared behind him. "Commander, it is just a child." "There is no honor in this." "There is always honor in the hunt," Rick said. "Besides, the young ones are tender. She will make a fine trophy." He stepped into the shed and reached for Yuna with his clawed hand. That was when Toto moved. The honey badger launched himself from Yuna's arms with a scream of pure rage. It was not a sound any Korvath had ever heard before. It was the sound of an earth creature born on a death world, facing a threat to someone it loved. Toto hit Vrix in the face. His claws dug into the commander's scales. His teeth, strong enough to crack turtle shells, bit down on Vrix's snout. Blood sprayed across the shed walls. Vrix stumbled backward, roaring in pain and shock. He had hunted 1,000 species. He had faced creatures 10 times his size. But nothing had ever attacked him with such sudden, fearless violence. Toto did not let go. He bit deeper, twisting his body to cause more damage. His loose, thick skin made it impossible for Vrix to grab him properly. Every time the commander tried to pull him off, Toto just twisted and bit somewhere new. Thane stood frozen, watching his commander being savaged by a creature no bigger than his foot. Yuna watched too, her eyes wide. She had seen Toto dig for roots and play with his ball. She had never seen him like this. She did not know he could be like this. "Toto," she whispered. The honey badger heard her voice. For just a moment, he looked at her with his small dark eyes. In that look, she saw something she would never forget. She saw love. She saw protection. She saw a promise. Then he turned back to the monster and bit down even harder. And somewhere deep in her heart, Yuna understood something important. She was not alone. She would never be alone. Because Toto would fight for her. Toto would fight anyone for her, even monsters from the stars. Commander Vrix had never felt pain like this. He had fought in dozens of battles. He had been cut, burned, and stabbed. But nothing had prepared him for the fury that was now attached to his face. The small creature bit and clawed without stopping. Its teeth punched through his scales like they were paper. Blood ran down his neck and chest. He swung his arms wildly, trying to grab the beast, but it was too fast. It twisted and turned, always finding a new place to bite. "Get it off!" Vrix screamed. "Get this thing off me!" Thane rushed forward. He grabbed at the creature's back, but his claws slipped on its loose, thick skin. It was like trying to hold water. The moment he touched it, the beast spun around and bit his hand so hard he heard bone crack. Thane screamed and fell back, holding his bleeding hand. 2 of his fingers hung at wrong angles. More Korvath hunters came running. They had heard the screaming and could not believe what they saw. Their mighty commander, the greatest hunter of their generation, was being destroyed by something the size of a grain pouch. "Shoot it!" Vrix ordered. He finally managed to tear the creature off his face and throw it to the ground. Blood poured from a dozen wounds. One of his eyes was swollen shut. Deep gashes crossed his snout. The creature hit the ground, rolled, and was instantly back on its feet. It did not run. It did not hide. It stood there, covered in Corvath blood, and made that terrible screaming sound again. A hunter raised his weapon and fired. The stun blast hit the creature directly. Blue energy wrapped around its small body. Any normal animal would have dropped instantly. The blast was strong enough to stop a charging beast 10 times this creature's size. The creature stumbled. It shook its head. Then it charged at the hunter who had shot it. The hunter could not believe his eyes. He fired again and again. 3 more blasts hit the creature. It slowed down but kept coming. It reached him and jumped at his leg, biting through his armor like it was cloth. The hunter fell, screaming. Yuna watched all of this from the doorway of the shed. Her heart was pounding so hard, she thought it might break. Toto was fighting all of them. Her small, funny, snack-stealing Toto was fighting monsters. She knew she had to run. She knew she had to get help. While Toto fought, she had to be brave too. She slipped out of the shed and ran through the wheat. Behind her, she could hear screaming and shooting and that terrible, beautiful sound of Toto's war cry. Commander Vrix wiped blood from his good eye. He watched the small beast fight his hunters and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Not fear for his life, but fear of something he did not understand. What is that thing? He demanded. Scan it. Find out what it is. A hunter pulled out a scanner and pointed it at the creature. The device hummed as it searched the galactic database. It is called a honey badger, the hunter reported. It comes from a planet called Earth, the same planet as the humans. What else? Rix asked. What does the database say about it? The hunter read the information on his screen. His scales went pale as he read. Commander, the database has a warning. A warning? For that little thing? Yes, Commander. The hunter's voice was shaking now. It says, extreme aggression. Fights without fear. Will attack any creature regardless of size. Thick, loose skin makes it difficult to hold or bite. Extremely strong jaws can break through hard shells. Immune to most poisons. Known to attack and drive away lions, buffalo, and venomous snakes. He paused. There is more, Commander. Tell me. It says, Malivora capensis is considered one of the most fearless creatures in the known galaxy. It does not know how to give up. It does not know how to surrender. It will fight until it wins or until it is dead. Rix stared at the creature. It was still fighting, even with 4 stun blasts in its body. 2 more hunters were on the ground, clutching bleeding limbs. The rest had backed away, not wanting to get close. What kind of world creates such demons? Rix whispered. Thane held his broken hand against his chest. Commander, we should leave. This hunt is cursed. We do not leave, Rix growled. We are Corvath. We do not run from prey. That is not prey, Thane said. I do not know what that is, but it is not prey. The honey badger had finished with the hunter it was attacking. It turned to face Rix again, blood dripping from its claws and teeth. Its eyes were black and filled with rage. It made that low, growling sound, like a promise of pain. Rix looked at his fallen hunters. He looked at the blood on the ground, most of it his own. He had never been hurt this badly in any hunt. And the creature was still standing, still ready to fight. Kill it, he ordered. Use lethal force. I do not care about capturing it. I want it dead. The hunters raised their weapons, switching from stun to kill. Red lights glowed on their guns, but the honey badger was already moving. It ran into the wheat and disappeared. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone. Find it. Rix screamed. Do not let it escape. The hunters spread out, but they moved slowly now. They were afraid. These were warriors who had killed thousands. They had never been afraid of anything, but they were afraid of this small beast from Earth. Yuna ran as fast as she could. The wheat was tall and thick, hiding her from view. She could hear the aliens behind her, searching for her and for Toto. She had to reach the communication tower. She had to warn everyone. Her lungs burned. Her legs hurt. But she kept running. The communication tower was at the edge of the colony, a tall metal structure with blinking lights at the top. Yuna reached it and ran inside. She found the emergency button, a big red circle on the wall. Her father had told her about it. He said to press it only if something very bad happened. She pressed it. Alarms rang out across the colony. Red lights flashed on every building. People stopped what they were doing and looked up. Farmers dropped their tools. Engineers climbed out of their machines. Everyone knew the emergency alarm. Everyone knew it meant danger. Deho heard the alarm and felt his heart stop. Yuna. Where was Yuna? He ran to the outer fields. He ran faster than he had ever run before. As he reached the edge of the wheat, he saw the alien ship. His blood went cold. Then he saw something moving in the field. Something small and covered in blood. It was walking toward the colony, leaving a trail of red in the golden wheat dot. It was Toto. The honey badger was wounded. He had burns from the stun blast and cuts from claws. But he was still walking. He was still fighting. He would always keep fighting. Behind him, in the field, Deho could hear the aliens screaming and searching. They sounded afraid. They sounded like they had met something they could not understand. Deho did not know what had happened, but he knew one thing for certain. His daughter's pet had just taught the universe a very important lesson. Never threaten the honey badger's family. The alarm echoed across the colony like a screaming bird. People ran from their homes and workplaces, gathering in the central square. Fear was on every face. They had built this peaceful life so far from danger. Now danger had found them. Deho carried Toto in his arms as he ran toward the crowd. The honey badger was bleeding, but still alert, his dark eyes scanning for threats. When Deho reached the square, people gasped at the blood covering the small animal. "Yuna!" he shouted. "Has anyone seen my daughter?" "Papa!" a small voice called out. Yuna came running from the communication tower. She crashed into her father's legs and held on tight. Tears ran down her dirty face. Deho knelt down and pulled her close with one arm, still holding Toto with the other. "Are you hurt?" he asked, checking her for wounds. "No, Papa. Toto saved me." "There are monsters, Papa. They came from the sky." Umbai pushed through the crowd and reached her family. She was carrying her medical bag, ready to help. When she saw the blood on Toto, she immediately began checking his wounds. "What happened?" she asked. "Aliens," Yuna said. "Big lizard aliens. They wanted to hurt me. But Toto fought them. He fought all of them." People gathered around, listening with wide eyes. Toto, the small pet who stole snacks and dug holes in gardens, had fought alien invaders? J1 stepped forward. He was the colony's security chief, a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been a soldier long ago, before choosing the peaceful life of a farmer. But old soldiers never forget how to fight. "How many of them are there?" he asked Yuna. "I do not know. Many. They have guns that shoot blue light." J1 looked at Deho. They had served together in the military years ago. They understood each other without words. "We need to defend ourselves," J1 said. "Everyone who can fight, gather near me. Everyone else, go to the underground shelters." The crowd began to move. Parents took children toward the shelter entrances. Young men and women stepped toward J1, ready to fight for their home. Su-min ran up to the group. She was the communications officer, a young woman with quick hands and a clever mind. She held a tablet computer that showed sensor readings. I am reading 30 life forms near the alien ship, she reported. They are spreading out, moving toward the colony. 30 hunters, J1 muttered. And we have no real weapons. Just farming tools and work machines. Daiho handed Toto to Yumbai. Take care of him, he said. I need to help. Be careful, Yumbai said. She took the wounded honey badger gently. Toto made a small growling sound, not wanting to leave Daiho's side. But he was too weak to fight right now. Toto, protect Mama and Yuna, Daiho said. I will be back. The honey badger looked at him with those dark, understanding eyes. He relaxed in Yumbai's arms, accepting his new duty. Daiho joined the other defenders. There were about 40 of them, men and women of different ages. None of them were real soldiers. They were farmers, engineers, teachers. But their eyes were hard with determination. What do we have? J1 asked. People began listing what they could use as weapons. Plasma cutters from the machine shop. Heavy wrenches and metal bars. Chemical sprayers used for crops. Farming machines that could crush or run over enemies. It is not much, J1 admitted. But we are humans. We have always fought with what we have. Daiho looked toward the wheat fields. He could see movement in the distance. The aliens were coming. I was an engineer in the military, he said. Our grain silos contain wheat dust. If we mix that dust with air and add a spark, it will explode. J1's eyes lit up. A dust explosion. How powerful? Powerful enough to destroy a building. Powerful enough to hurt even armored enemies. Can you set it up? Daiho nodded. I can create a trap. But we need to draw them into the right position. Then we have a plan, J1 said. Some of us will fight them in the fields, slow them down. Others will prepare the trap. When they enter the central plaza, we blow it. Everyone agreed. They split into groups. Some went to collect weapons. Some went to the silos to prepare the explosives. Some took positions at the edge of the colony, ready to face the enemy. In the medical building, Yumbai worked on Toto's wounds. The honey badger lay on a clean table while she cleaned his cuts and treated his burns. He was remarkably calm, watching her with patient eyes. Yuna sat nearby, holding her mother's extra supplies. Will Toto be okay? She asked. He is very tough, Yumbai said. These wounds would stop most animals. But look at him. He's already trying to get up. It was true. Even with his injuries, Toto was attempting to climb off the table. He made a frustrated growling sound when Yumbai gently pushed him back down. Rest, she told him. You have done enough fighting for today. But Toto did not want to rest. He could smell the enemies outside. He could sense the fear in the air. Every part of his body wanted to fight, to protect, to destroy anything that threatened his family. Outside, the battle began. The Korvath hunters reached the edge of the colony. They moved carefully now, not like proud predators anymore. They moved like creatures who had learned to be afraid. Commander Vrix led them despite his wounds. Bandages covered his face, and he walked with a slight limp. His pride would not let him stay behind. He had to prove he was still the greatest hunter. Find them, he ordered. Find them all. No one escapes. The first human appeared between two buildings. It was a young man carrying a long metal bar. He shouted something in their strange language and threw the bar at the nearest hunter. The bar flew through the air and hit the hunter in the chest. It was not enough to hurt him, but it was enough to make him angry. He raised his weapon to shoot. Then more humans appeared. They came from doorways, from behind machines, from storage buildings. They threw things. They swung tools. They sprayed chemicals that burned Korvath eyes. The Korvath began shooting back. Blue stun blasts filled the air. Humans fell, unconscious, but alive. But for every human who fell, Another took their place. "They are fighting back," Thane said, surprised. "They are actually fighting back." "Of course they are fighting back," Rix growled. "They are the same species that created that demon beast. Did you think they would surrender?" The battle moved through the streets of the colony. Humans used their knowledge of the buildings to hide and attack. Korvath hunters used their superior weapons and armor to push forward. But every step cost them. These soft, weak creatures without claws or scales were not acting like prey at all. In the medical building, Toyo finally managed to jump off the table. He ignored his pain and ran to the window. He could see the fighting outside. He could smell the blood. Yuna watched him. Toto wants to fight again. Yumbai looked at the small, wounded creature pressing against the glass. She thought about everything he had already done. She thought about how he had saved her daughter. "Not yet," she said softly. "But I think soon. I think very soon." And in the distance, moving through space faster than light, a human patrol fleet had received a distress signal. They were coming. Help was coming. But first, the colonists would have to survive on their own. The central plaza of the colony was empty and silent. Buildings surrounded it on all sides, their windows dark and watching. This was where the trap waited. This was where the hunters would become the hunted. Commander Vrix led his forces through the streets. They had captured some humans and knocked out others. But many had escaped into the buildings. The fighting was taking too long. His hunters were getting nervous. "They are hurting us," Thane said quietly. "Every time we try to go a different way, they attack us. They want us to go somewhere specific." "I know," Rix replied. "But where else can we go? Our ship is behind us. Their main buildings are ahead. We must push forward." They entered the central plaza. The Korvath hunters spread out, weapons ready, expecting an attack at any moment. But nothing happened. The plaza was quiet. "This feels wrong," Thane said. Before Vrix could respond, a human voice called out. It came from a speaker on one of the buildings, amplified so everyone could hear. "Attention, invaders." It was J1's voice. "You have attacked a peaceful colony. You have threatened our children. You have hurt our people. Now we will show you what humans do to those who threaten us." Vrix laughed. "Words. You fight us with words. We are Korvath. We are the greatest hunters in the galaxy." "You were the greatest hunters," J1 replied. "Until you met us." The grain silos exploded. Daiho had done his work perfectly. The wheat dust mixed with air created a cloud that filled the plaza. Then, a small spark ignited it all. The explosion was massive. Fire and force rolled through the plaza like an angry wave. Korvath hunters flew through the air. Their armor cracked. Their weapons shattered. Some fell and did not get up. Others stumbled, confused, and burned. Commander Vrix was thrown against a wall. His ears rang. His vision blurred. For a moment, he did not know where he was or what had happened. Then the humans attacked. They came from every doorway, every window, every shadow. They carried tools and pipes and cutting machines. They were not trained soldiers. They did not fight with skill or grace. They fought with anger and desperation and the wild courage of creatures protecting their home. J1 led them. He swung a heavy wrench with deadly aim, knocking a hunter off his feet. Beside him, Daiho used a plasma cutter to slice through alien armor. Farmers and engineers and teachers became warriors. The Korvath tried to fight back. Some of them still had weapons. Some of them could still stand. But they were hurt and confused, and the humans were everywhere. "Fall back." Vrix screamed. "Fall back to the ship?" The hunters began to retreat. They moved through the streets, pushed by the attacking humans. They left their wounded behind. They ran like prey in the medical building. Toto heard the explosion and the screams. He threw himself against the door again and again. He had to get out. He had to fight Yuna by looked at her daughter. Yuna, can you hold the door closed? Yuna nodded and leaned against it. But Toto was strong, even wounded. The door shook with every hit. He will hurt himself more, Yunbai said. She made a decision. She opened the door. Toto burst out like a ball of fury. He ran toward the fighting, his wounds forgotten. Nothing would stop him. Nothing could stop him. Deho saw the honey badger coming. He tried to call out, to stop him. But Toto was too fast. He ran past the humans and straight at the retreating Korvath. The hunters saw him coming. Some of them screamed. They had seen what this small beast could do. They ran faster, but one hunter was not fast enough. Toto caught him and brought him down. The hunter fought back, but it was no use. Within seconds, he was on the ground, crying for help that would not come. Rix reached his ship. He slammed his claw on the door control, and the entrance opened. He stumbled inside, followed by the hunters who had survived. Less than half of them made it. 15 hunters had fallen to the colonists and their demon beast. "Close the door," Rix ordered. "Get us in the air." The ship's engines roared to life. The vessel lifted off the ground, crushing more wheat beneath it. It rose into the sky, leaving the burning colony behind. Rix collapsed into his command chair. He looked at his beaten hunters, at their wounds and their fear. They had come as conquerors. They were leaving as survivors. "Commander," a crew member called out, "we have multiple contacts entering the system. Human ships. Military ships." Rix felt his blood go cold. He looked at the screen. 3 human warships dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons already aimed at his vessel. They were big ships bristling with guns and armor. They were ships made for war. On the ground, the colonists cheered. Su-Min had sent the distress signal, and help had finally arrived. People hugged each other and cried with relief. Day-Ho found Toto sitting near the edge of the colony. The honey badger was covered in blood again, his wounds reopened. But he was alive. He was watching the alien ship fly away, as if making sure it was really leaving. "You did it," Deho said, kneeling beside him. "You crazy little monster. You did it." Toto looked at him and made a tired sound. Then he leaned against Deho's leg and closed his eyes. Finally, he was ready to rest. Yunbai and Yuna ran up to them. Yuna threw herself at Toto, hugging him gently to avoid his wounds. "Toto is a hero," she said. "The biggest hero ever." "Yes," Yunbai agreed, wiping tears from her eyes. "Yes, he is." Above them, the human warship surrounded the Korvath vessel. There was nowhere for the hunters to run. Their great hunting trip had turned into a disaster. Commander Rix stared at the screens showing the human ships. He thought about the small beast that had scarred his face. He thought about the humans who had exploded their own buildings just to hurt his hunters. He thought about the fear in his warriors' eyes. "What have we found?" he whispered to himself. "What have we woken up?" On the lead human warship, Admiral Hyan Sao looked at the Korvath vessel with calm eyes. She had received the full report from the colony. She knew everything that had happened, and she knew exactly what she was going to say to these alien hunters. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "I want to speak with their commander." The channel opened. Commander Vrix appeared on the screen. He tried to look proud, but his bandaged face and wounded posture told the real story. "I am Admiral Hyan Sao of the Human Defense Fleet," she said. "You are surrounded. Your weapons cannot match ours. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly." Vrix looked at her through the screen. This human female was small, like all of them. She had no claws or scales, but her eyes were cold and dangerous. She looked at him like a hunter looks at prey. He had never been looked at that way before. "We will discuss terms," he said quietly. Admiral Hyanseo smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Yes," she said. "We will." Admiral Hyanseo stood on the bridge of her warship, watching the Korvath vessel on the main screen. Her crew worked quietly around her, keeping weapons locked on the alien ship. There would be no escape for these hunters. "Commander Vrix," she said through the communication channel, "you attacked a civilian farming colony. You threatened children. You tried to hunt humans for sport. Do you deny any of this?" Vrix shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His wounds ached. His pride hurt even more. "We are Korvath. The hunt is our way. It is our tradition. We have hunted thousands of species across the galaxy. And now you have tried to hunt humans," Hyanseo replied. "How did that work out for you?" Vrix said nothing. His scarred face was answer enough. "I have read the reports from the colony," the Admiral continued. "Your hunters were beaten by farmers with tools. Your mighty commander was nearly killed by a pet. A small, furry pet." She paused to let that sink in. "Tell me, Commander, did anyone teach you about Earth before you came here?" "We had no information about your species," Vrix admitted. "Then let me educate you." Hyanseo pressed a button, and images appeared on Vrix's screen. "This is Earth, our home world. We call it a death world. Do you know why?" The images show Vrix things he had never seen before. Massive waves crashing on rocks. Lightning strikes setting forests on fire. Earthquakes splitting the ground. Volcanoes spewing lava. Storms that could flatten cities. "Earth is trying to kill us every day," Hyanseo explained. "Floods, droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis. Our planet is violent. It has been trying to wipe us out for millions of years." More images appeared. Animals this time. Vrix saw creatures with massive jaws and teeth. Creatures with claws longer than his fingers. Creatures that lived in water and could swallow a Korvath whole. "These are some of our predators," the Admiral said. "Lions, tigers, bears, crocodiles, sharks, wolves. They hunt us. They eat us. They have been killing humans since we first walked on two legs." Vrix stared at the images. These creatures were terrifying. Any one of them could match a Korvath in a fight. "But here is what you need to understand, Commander." Hyanseo's voice became harder. "We did not hide from these predators. We did not run away. We hunted them back. We killed them. We drove many of them to the edge of extinction. And some of them," she smiled coldly, "some of them we turned into pets." New images appeared. Humans walking beside wolves that had become dogs. Humans riding horses into battle. Humans with hawks on their arms and snakes around their necks. "We take the most dangerous creatures on our world and make them our companions," Hyanseo said. "We do not fear predators. We collect them." Vrix thought about the small beast that had attacked him. The honey badger. It was a pet. A child's pet. And it had nearly killed him. "That creature that fought you," Hyanseo continued, as if reading his mind. "The honey badger. It comes from a place on Earth called Africa. In that land, there are animals that make your species look gentle. Lions, leopards, hyenas, poisonous snakes. The honey badger fights all of them. It attacks them without fear. It does not know how to give up." She leaned closer to the screen. "And we keep them as pets. For fun? Because humans like to be friends with things that can kill us." Thane whispered to his commander. "She is trying to scare us. Is it working?" Vrix asked quietly. Thane did not answer. His broken hand was proof enough. "I want you to understand something, Commander Vrix," the Admiral said. "You came to our colony thinking we were prey. Soft, weak, easy to hunt. But humans are not prey. We are persistent predators. Do you know what that means? Rick shook his head. It means we do not give up. We do not stop. We do not surrender. When we chase something, we chase it until it falls. When something threatens us, we fight it until it dies. We are the most stubborn creatures in the galaxy. We survived everything our world threw at us, and we kept going. She pointed at the images of wounded Corveth on her screen. Your hunters learned that today. They attacked a farming colony. Farmers, Commander. Not soldiers. Just ordinary people growing food. And look what those farmers did to you. The bridge of the human warship was silent. Every crew member watched the screen with hard eyes. They were proud of their people on that colony. Proud of what humans could do when they had to fight. Now, Hyencio said, we will discuss what happens next. You will return to your home world. You will tell your leaders what happened here. You will add humans to your do not hunt list. And you will never come near our colonies again. And if we refuse? Rix asked, trying to sound brave. Then I will destroy your ship with all hands aboard. Hyencio replied without hesitation. And I will send a fleet to your home world to make sure no Corvath ever threatens a human again. We do not start wars, Commander, but we finish them. Rix looked at his wounded hunters. He looked at his damaged ship. He looked at the human warships surrounding him, their weapons ready. There was no choice. We accept your terms, he said quietly. Good, Hyencio nodded. But before you leave, there is one more thing you must do. You will land on the colony and apologize to the child you threatened, personally. Rix's eyes went wide. You want me to apologize? To a child? Yes, you scared a little girl. You tried to hurt her. You will look her in the eyes and say you are sorry. Or you can stay here and become dust. The Corvath commander had no choice. An hour later, he stood in the colony's central plaza. His hunters waited on the ship. He was alone, surrounded by humans who looked at him with hard eyes. A man and woman brought forward a small girl. She had dark hair in 2 braids and eyes that had seen too much. In her arms, she held a small animal covered in bandages. The honey badger looked at Vrix with black eyes full of recognition. Vrix felt his wounds throb. He remembered the pain, the fear, the helplessness. You are the child, he said. His voice was rough. My name is Yuna, she said. She did not look afraid. She stood straight and strong. I am sorry. Rix forced the words out. I should not have threatened you. I was wrong. Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked down at Toto. Toto forgives you, she said. But if you ever come back, he will bite off your other eye. The honey badger growled, as if agreeing. Rix stepped back. He looked at this small girl and her small pet, and he understood something important. Size did not matter. Technology did not matter. What mattered was the spirit inside. And these humans, these strange soft creatures, had spirits that would not break. He turned and walked back to his ship. He did not look back. That night, the colony held a celebration. People laughed and danced and shared food. The fires from the explosion had been put out. The wounded were healing. They had survived. Yuna sat with her parents, Toto sleeping in her lap. The honey badger had earned his rest. He had fought harder than anyone should have to fight. Toto gets extra treats forever, Deho said. He gets anything he wants, Umbai agreed. Yuna smiled and stroked her pet's fur. He just wants to be with us. That is all he ever wanted. Admiral Hyencio visited the colony before leaving. She knelt down to look at Toto and laughed. This little guy sent a warning across the galaxy, she said. When other species hear about what happened here, they will think twice before hunting humans. He is just Toto, Yuna said. He's my best friend. And that is exactly why he is so dangerous, the Admiral replied. Because he loves you. And there is nothing more dangerous in the universe than an Earth creature protecting someone it loves. She stood up and looked at the stars above. The Korvath will update their database. They will warn others about humans. They will tell everyone what happened here. What will they say? Deho asked. Hyan Seo smiled. They will say, humans are apex persistence predators. Threat level is extreme. They bond with creatures even more violent than themselves. Whatever you do not threaten their families. She looked down at the sleeping honey badger. And especially, she added, do not make their pets angry. Toto opened one eye, looked at her, and went back to sleep. He had done his job. He had protected his family. And tomorrow, there would be more snacks to steal and more holes to dig. But if anyone ever threatened Yuna again, he would be ready. He would always be ready. The end.